Hi, this is Carter from Crystaldaggerhorsemanship, and it is cold outside today. So I have Katie the horse out here with me, and we are pretty much just going to be working on some steering today. She's always very heavy in your hands. She doesn't quite understand suppleness and just in general, she's an off-the-track thoroughbred, so she's very heavy in the head and doesn't bend very well. I did just bring the mounting block over. I made sure to set it down nice and heavy next to her to see if I got a reaction. In typical fashion with this horse, I did not. This is about her 14th ride. We went out last weekend with a friend of mine. We went down the road for probably about an hour and a half. We got passed by a person in I believe it was a Challenger, who whipped by another person and was revving his engine with a modified exhaust. I motioned for him to slow down, but he proceeded to blow by us, and this horse, thankfully, did not react very much at all. I may or may not have had a open tall boy in my hand at the time. She doesn't neck rein, so it could have gotten interesting, but she generally holds it together, and I'm confident enough in my ability where I could have just tossed the can and pulled her into one of the fields on the side of the road and got her slowed down. It is amazing, however, how bad people are about slowing down for horses. I'm gonna have to get some of that documented and do a video on it, because it is absolutely ridiculous. I will start riding here in a minute. Again, it's a good thing this horse is pretty good for not really having very much experience, because I had an old injury flare up on me there and I could not move. So we're gonna start walking off here. Pretty much just bringing her around. She wasn't pulling too heavy then, but I wasn't really asking for much of a bend or anything. And again, I apologize for my framing on the screen. I will get better at this, I promise you. We're pretty much just going to be starting to make some circles. In probably a couple minutes, potentially right now, we'll start walking towards the fence. It's an exercise I like to do. It's pretty common. Basically, you just start walking them towards the fence, and you don't tell them whether they're going to be turning left, right, or stopping until right you get to the end of it. And if they anticipate going one direction or the other, you go the opposite. If they decide that they're going to stop, you keep them moving. And basically what that does is it starts getting them more tuned in on you and what you're going to be asking for from them than having their own ideas. Again, surprisingly, this horse is not bad at it. She's not good at it. But I've seen a lot worse, especially with the amount of rides that she's had on her. So let's see where we are right here. I'm sure I'll pop back up in a second or two. I believe this is the first time I ran her into the fence there. I must have went right. And I'm going to be going at it again. And we just kept her going, turned left on that one. I try not to pick one side more than the other. Sometimes I'll double or triple up before I switch direction to see if they're going to start anticipating, which I believe she did right here, because I think I'm going to be coming around the right-hand side. There we go. I think I may stop on this one. Yep. And honestly, she's getting pretty good about her stops. We were practicing one reins and whatnot. She'll get a little pushy every now and again, but for the most part, if I sit back and put my legs forward, I don't have to pull on her head too hard anymore for that. If it starts, I believe I'll probably end up doing a couple of them. I don't really remember. But for the most part, she's a very willing horse. She's not an incredibly bright horse, though, which honestly makes for a nice riding horse, because they're too dumb to think of their own things to do. Maeve, on the other hand, is incredibly smart, and that's where all of her opinions come from, because most of what I'm asking her to do, she thinks is dumb and can come up with her own ideas. Though it is nice in a pinch when something goes wrong to have a more intelligent horse with you, because they tend to figure their way out of things better than a horse like Katie, who may be prone to panic or do something a little bit silly because she's not using her brain to think her way through it. So yeah, I think I'm going to take her for a walk down to the end of the ring here. And I'm just going to be sticking to a walk today. It's about 15 degrees out. She's pretty stiff. In a little bit, you'll see me have to I'd start doing neck suppling exercises because she's not really wanting to bend at all. I don't have any spurs on, so I'm not really able to press her body into a bend if she doesn't want to. So basically, when I start doing it with her, I'll just be tapping my whatever the inside leg is against her and starting to pull her head. When she doesn't respond to it, I'm going to pull harder. And I'm going to hit a certain point and pretty much lock my arm up, and then it's up to her when she wants to start releasing her head into it, because I'm not going to move my arm. As I'm speaking on this video right now, my arms are actually pretty sore because she was very heavy and stiff today. And she hasn't really done much of anything this week other than hang out in the field and eat, and it is pretty cold out. I think it was about 3 degrees when I got up this morning. Been staying pretty busy kicking holes in the water troughs and scooping all the ice out of them. That's a big part of my days now. That was the second time I was at the barn today. I'll be going back in a couple hours to do it all again and get them fed for the night. She can be a bit of a weirdo about poles. She's done them enough where she's not really worried, but she's always skeptical about it, especially the first time. She doesn't really want to do it, as you saw earlier. And basically, I just kind of get her up to the poles, and I keep urging her forward, give her head pretty loose rein. I keep my hands light, and I just wait and keep steering her back towards them until she decides to do it. See right here, yeah, I'm trying to push her into a bend right there, which looks better than it felt, to be honest with you. Like I said, my arms feel like they're about to fall off right now. She was very heavy today, and that is pretty much, I knew I was going to be doing this today, which is why I put her in a halter. Thoroughbreds are heavy on the mouth because the jockeys keep contact when they're asking them to move forward. And generally, the heavier the contact, the faster the horse is asked to run. That's pretty much one of the reasons that they have outriders to catch the horses. And the reason that you see jockeys have to really stand up tall in their stirrups and lean themselves back if they're going to be pulling the horse up. I may be bending her head around here. I believe that's what I'm doing. Looks like I'm going to the right-hand side. And she gives it to me a little bit there. Again, very, very heavy today. I'm wondering if it's because I'm not using a bit, so she's not respecting my aids as well as she would. I highly doubt that's the reason, but it's something I'll pay attention to, and if it turns into a problem, I'll probably I'll start riding her in a halter more, because I do like them to be soft without a bit in their mouth. You notice I didn't lunge or anything before I came out here. I do that on purpose because I don't want to have to lunge a horse every time I get on. I expect them to be able to manage their energy and emotions in a way that's respectable and doesn't involve me having to run the extra vinegar out of them. Here, yep, I'm bending her around, and if she tries to move forward, I'm just going to touch my outside rein with a finger. I'm holding my hand right here, and I'm just going to wait for her to give a little bit. If I remember right, it took quite a while. You know, she fought back a little bit there, so I just pulled her back a little bit more. She's going to be given here in a couple seconds, if memory serves me right. It's not a big give, but I do have her neck bent. There we go. I have her neck bent fairly far around, so she can't really flex too much more to begin with. You know, and I'm not tugging on her head, really. I'm moving my hand pretty slowly. And she's going to start trying to walk off. Just going to grab that outside rein. If she's not walking off or anything like that, I'm not going to touch it. And I'm going to give her head back slowly. One, it teaches them respect, and it helps them start keeping their head down and get used to the constant pressure of bending, steering, stuff like that. See how this is going. And it allows you to start developing their reliance probably isn't the right word, but it's what's coming to mind right now. The reliance on you to set their head position. She needs to know that I'm in charge of where her head goes, and that'll help me later on doing more complex movements, which honestly, with the way this horse has been injured in the past, I probably won't get to those movements. I don't think that she'd, well, one, she's a thoroughbred, so I'm not going to be doing reining stuff with her. She's not really built for that. And with the injuries to her pastern and whatnot, she's never going to be jumping or doing anything horribly strenuous on any sort of a regular basis. I'm trying to minimize the wear and tear on that injury, though it is good to keep it moving. About the best it's going to get for her is maybe a lower level dressage or western dressage horse, trail horse. With her personality and how she behaves, she's probably going to make a decent kid's horse. I've had my 5-year-old up on her already. Again, the steering was a little bit heavy, but if a 5-year-old can steer her around behind me while I'm riding my horse, there's really nothing to worry about. She's a great animal. I'm really fond of this horse so far. Now let's see what we're doing here. I think I may be starting to try backing up with her. Now I have the 2 poles set against the fence to put barriers on the side of her. We've done groundwork and stuff on backing before. She doesn't really like it. She's never been asked to really back with someone on her back before. She does a couple steps. I'm thinking it may have been more accidentally that she got it right. Now I'm trying to back her up one more to get herself clear of that, and she's not really going to be having it. I'm trying not to pull on her head as much as possible and to signal for motion with my legs and have her hit the barrier that I'm making with the reins and then decide that the only way to go is backwards. And it's not really clicking with her. She doesn't understand. I know in a prior video to this I said I don't let my horses tell me no. And I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to let her tell me no, but that's not what she's telling me right here. Right now she's telling me I don't understand, which is completely different. And you can't really treat them the same way. See, if she was telling me no, I'd be really getting after her there, starting to give her some reprimands, ask more dominantly. But I'm not going to do that because she has no idea what I'm asking her to. So if I start getting mad at her, it's going to be counterproductive. I'm trying to let her figure it out by herself. And I might be standing here, she's getting pretty upset because she just does not get what I'm asking her to do, and she doesn't understand why I keep tugging back on her and squeezing with my legs at the same time. She wants to go forward, but there's a fence there, and I'm not letting her go sideways, and you can see the frustration with her. She's getting pretty upset right here. So when she hits a certain point, I'm going to lay off her, and I'm going to give her some pats and tell her that she's a good horse and let her relax for a minute. And I'm not going to get very far with this. At the end of this video, you'll see me get off, and I'll redo a couple little bits of groundwork there to start getting it more ingrained in her head. She's not bad about it on the ground. She doesn't much care for it. She doesn't like to back up, but again, being an off-the-track thoroughbred, backing up wasn't a big part of her routine. And at 6 years old, she's past the prime age where learning something new is easy for her. They start getting set in their ways around 4 or 5. And that's why people like to start them when they're 2. I know it's quite controversial as well, but training a 2 or 3 year old is much easier than training a 4, 5, 6, 7 year old horse, especially one that hasn't been handled. I think the controversy with the 2 year olds is with how heavily they work them. We'll go back to reining. I mean, a lot of those horses are burnt up by the time they're 6 or 7 years old, because they're started as a 2 year old, and within 3, 4, 5 months they're already doing sliding stops regularly, spins regularly, and their joints aren't closed. They're not at full size yet. They're not developed, and it beats up the joints in their body. In my opinion, the proper time to start them is right about 2 years old, but it involves getting on and basically doing what I'm doing with her right now. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't really ask them for any sort of more advanced or heavier work till they were about 4. That's not really the world that we live in, unfortunately. So, no, what's a good way to phrase this? Again, and these are all my opinions, the best you can probably do is take it as easy as possible. Give them plenty of time off. Try to avoid, especially jumping, repeated heavy gallops, canters, circles, until they're at least 3. I'm asking her to back again right here. I wanted to see what would happen if I took the barriers of the fence and the poles away. And I'm getting the same result. She again just doesn't understand. And that's okay. She's not telling me no. She's just getting upset because I keep asking her to do something that she doesn't get. So at this point, even if she gives me a half a step or even thinks backwards, I'm going to release and tell her good. We're changing around. There we go. She gave me half a step. I told her she's a good horse. And sometimes when you're training them to do stuff that they don't understand, that's as good as you're going to get that day. But it's a start. And I'll come back. Well, it'll probably end up being next weekend before I get the chance to do it, because up here in Maine, we have about 15 minutes of daylight right now. And working a full-time job with it, it's just not possible for me to get out and do as much as I would like to. Should we have a longer day and warmer weather, or I'd be unemployed and actually get to enjoy myself. I'm waiting for my trust fund to kick in. I don't have one, but it'd be cool if I did. And after the backing, right now I'm giving her, we're doing a little one rein right there, and then I'm going to release her and I believe ask her to keep walking forward. Stuff that she's already pretty good at. That way she knows what she's doing and she doesn't have to overthink it, which is going to get her mind back settled down and more comfortable, being that she just got pretty upset because she didn't understand. I'm starting to, I think I start introducing neck reins a little bit today too, which a lot of times I do by accident. It's a bad habit. I've spent a lot of time training neck reins, and sometimes I do it out of instinct. If you see me raising my outside hand and touching against their neck, I'm not always intending on doing that. It is a bad habit of mine that I am trying to get out of, but I figure it's about time that she starts learning the neck rein. A lot of times I have stuff in my hand, and even if she does get trained as a just English horse, neck reining is not a bad thing to know for all of them. It allows you to, again, ride with a drink, or should you have to fiddle with something while you're on it, grab a gate, things along those lines. Being able to steer with one hand is a handy thing to have your horse know. Tough. When I was riding her down the road the other week, I was holding my reins like a roper so I could bump her face side to side to steer, and we trotted down the road for, well, we were out for an hour and a half, and a good chunk of it was trotting down there in traffic, and she responded well to just being bumped in the mouth, which again helps softness, because I'm not hanging on her face and telling her what to do. I'm just giving her little corrections when she starts getting off track, which will help your horse learn to go straight. See him up, and I'm just going to touch her neck right there. I do have a good bit of pressure on that inside rein. She did stop there. I believe I must have set my feet forward and asked for that one because it looked very smooth. This is the first time I've watched this video. I'm on a little bit of a time crunch today, so I didn't get the chance to watch everything, figure out what I was doing first. Right here, I'm just rewarding and getting off, and I'm going to start playing with the back up a little bit. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to tug the reins back a little bit, and I'm just tapping on her chest with the back of my hand. When she refuses to do it, I'm going to start putting more and more pressure on until she does. Like I said, she really doesn't like backing up. There we go. I'm going to get a couple steps, and we're going to give her a pet. The goal when you're doing this is for her to keep backing up until you let her stop. And it's kind of hard to gauge, especially with young ones, because you don't want to release immediately when they start back, especially on the ground if they already have an idea. Because if you do, they're only going to learn to take a step or two. And then they're going to have to, and then it's going to be a little bit more of a battle later. But if you hold it too long and they stop themselves, you're teaching your horse to say no to you. So it's a very, you kind of have to gauge how far that you're going to be able to get with it. And let the pressure off like it's your decision to have them stop before that they decide to stop themselves. Let's see. Let's be going for a little walk here. She's very good about leading. I believe I'm going to stop a couple times walking back towards the camera. And I'm not really going to put any pressure on. I'm just going to stop. And she's good. She stopped right when her shoulders were level to mine, which is right where I want her to be. We're going to do it again. She pushed through a little bit there, but not bad enough for me to warrant giving her a correction. And I'm not pushing on her there. She did the corner nicely. She moved off my pressure without me having to touch her. I'm going to put these reins back up again so it's pulling at an angle like someone in the saddle to start getting her more used to that. She doesn't really get it. I'm going to take the pressure off. I'm going to try and get her to bring her head back down a little bit and not be so stressed out. As you can see, she's really just not very good at this. We've done this a few times before. They were a little bit better than this. But again, when they don't understand or know what they're doing, you kind of have to take what they give you for a little bit. If she was being disrespectful, really, or pushing or getting angry with me, I would start giving her a correction and being a little bit heavier, tugging her around a little bit more. But she's not. And as you can see, she stands there just fine. She's really well behaved on the ground for the most part. And if memory serves me right, this is about the end of this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Again, this is Carter from Crystaldaggerhorsemanship. If any of this helps you out or makes sense to you, please like and subscribe. The more the better. I appreciate all your time, and I hope you guys have a great day. Take it easy. Bye.